I walked in holding 2 bags of groceries, expecting to surprise my wife with dinner. Instead, I found her wrapped in the arms of my best friend, in our bedroom, on the bed I built with my own hands. She looked at me, not with shame, but boredom. And when I begged her to talk, she smirked and said, "You should have made more time for me." The next day, she filed for divorce. Took the house. Took the savings. Took the dog. And left me with nothing but questions. Hey everyone, thank you to all my loyal subscribers for being here. You keep this channel alive with your support. If you're new, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of these gripping, real-life stories. These aren't just tales, they're truths that remind us how fragile love can be when taken for granted. Let's get into today's story. People say the American dream is simple: find someone to love, build a home, work hard, and live happily ever after. Well, I thought I had all of that. My name's Michael Lawson. I'm a 38-year-old auto mechanic from Anderson, Indiana. Born and raised right here in town. I've never been the flashy type, just a hard-working guy who believed that love, loyalty, and sweat were enough to build a life on. I met Lauren when I was 24. She worked at the local bookstore downtown, and I was the guy coming in once a week pretending to like mystery novels, just to talk to her. I still remember the first time she laughed at one of my dumb jokes. It felt like winning the lottery. Lauren was special. She had a calm about her. Soft voice, warm eyes, and a way of making you feel like you were the only person in the world. We dated for 2 years, got married in the summer of 2013. It was nothing fancy, just friends, family, and an old barn-turn venue off Route 32. But to me, it was perfect. She was perfect. Back then, she wanted to be a writer. Said she had stories in her head she needed to get out, and I believed in her. Still do, in some twisted way. So when we talked about her staying home to write while I worked, it felt right. I wanted to support her. I wanted her to chase her dream while I took care of the bills. So I picked up a second job. Days at Miller's Auto, nights driving for a local delivery company. I'd work 14-hour shifts, 6 days a week. Some nights I came home and just collapsed on the couch without dinner. But every time I looked at Lauren asleep in our bed, I told myself, it's worth it. We're building something. That's the thing about love. When you're in it deep, you don't count costs. You just give. We didn't have much, but I made sure she had everything she needed. A new laptop when her old one crashed. A quiet room upstairs for writing. Groceries. Books. Candles. Whatever she wanted to help her create. She'd smile and say, "Thank you, babe. You always take care of me." And that was enough for me. Now, let me tell you about Cody. Cody Barnes was my best friend since middle school. The kind of guy who never really settled down, but always had your back. He was the best man at our wedding. Helped me move furniture when we bought our first house. Came over for beers on Sundays and watched the Colts lose again and again. He was a bit of a flirt, everyone knew that, but I never thought much of it. He'd charm waitresses and get free refills. It was just Cody being Cody. And Lauren? She laughed it off. Said he was harmless. The truth is, I trusted them both completely. I thought we were solid. Lauren never said she was unhappy. Sure, we had our arguments like every couple, usually about me working too much or being too tired, but nothing serious. At least, that's what I told myself. Sometimes, she'd get quiet. Distant. She'd spend more time outside on the porch, sipping wine, scrolling her phone. I figured it was stress. Writer's block. Something internal. I didn't push. Looking back now, there were signs. Moments that didn't quite sit right. Like the time I came home early from a late shift being cancelled, and Cody was already there. Said he stopped by to drop off a book for Lauren. They both looked surprised. Almost awkward. But I brushed it off. Why wouldn't I? He was my best friend. She was my wife. If I sound naive, it's because I was. Love has a way of blinding you to the obvious. I believed in the life we had. I believed in her. But little did I know, while I was busting my back to keep the lights on, someone else was sneaking into my home through the cracks I didn't see. They say a woman doesn't just wake up one day and decide to leave the man she married. No, it happens in slow motion, quietly, almost silently. Like a leak behind the wall you don't notice until the ceiling collapses. That's what happened to us. At least, that's how I understand it now. After a few years of marriage, Lauren stopped waking up early to see me off to work. She used to do that every morning. Wrap her arms around my neck and kiss my cheek before I walked out the door with my thermos in one hand and a ham sandwich in the other. "Come home safe," she used to whisper. But slowly, that stopped. First it was once or twice a week. Then most mornings. Eventually, I'd leave in silence, tiptoeing past our bedroom like a stranger in his own house. Her smiles changed too. They weren't warm anymore. They were polite, thin, like tissue paper. I'd bring home her favorite takeout on Fridays, and she'd pick at it while scrolling her phone. "I'm just not hungry," she'd say, but there were nights I heard her sneaking a snack later. When I brought it up, she'd brush me off. "Michael, I'm just tired. Writing drains me." So I didn't push. I figured she was going through something creative, and the last thing I wanted to do was make it worse. I told myself, "You're doing this for her. For the both of you. Keep working. Keep loving her. She'll come around." But she didn't. What made it harder was how often Cody was suddenly around. At first, it made me feel better, like someone was keeping her company while I was out grinding 2 jobs. But slowly, it started to feel off. Too frequent. Too casual. He'd drop by even when I wasn't home. One night I came home after a long delivery shift, and there was Cody, sitting on our porch with Lauren, drinking wine under the string lights I hung the summer before. They didn't hear me pull in. She was laughing. Not the soft chuckle she gave me, but the kind that made her throw her head back. I remember standing at the edge of the driveway, watching for a few seconds longer than I should have. I felt like I didn't belong in my own marriage. When I stepped onto the porch, their laughter stopped. Cody turned and said, "Hey man. We were just talking about you." Lauren didn't say anything. Just smiled, tight and unreadable. I went inside, sat on the couch, and stared at the muted TV while they kept talking outside. That night in bed, I asked her, "Is everything okay between us?" She paused for a second too long, then replied, "Of course. Why would you ask that?" I told her, "You've just been different lately." She rolled over, away from me. "Maybe because I never see you, Michael." That hit hard. I wanted to say, "I'm working for you. For us. So you can have your dream while I wear my hands down to the bone." But I stayed quiet. Because when a man starts defending himself in his own home, he's already losing. Weeks passed. The distance grew. Lauren stopped writing, or at least stopped talking about it. The upstairs, writing room, became her hideaway, and I learned not to knock. I'd come home to her curled up on the couch, watching shows I didn't know she was into. She didn't invite me to join. I wasn't part of her world anymore. One Saturday, I came home early from the shop. Cody's truck was in the driveway. I walked in and heard laughter upstairs. Their laughter. I froze. My legs wanted to run up those steps and demand answers, but my heart wasn't ready. So I stood there, staring at the door, pretending I didn't hear it. Eventually, they came down. Cody acted like nothing was wrong, said they were watching old YouTube videos and debating which Marvel movie was most overrated. Lauren didn't even look at me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I laid next to her, staring at the ceiling fan as it creaked in circles. My gut twisted, but I pushed it down. Because when you love someone, you make excuses for them. You tell yourself, she's just lonely. She just needs time. You're working so hard, maybe she's just sad. She'll come back to you. But deep down, I think I knew. I just didn't want to admit it. The hardest part about losing someone you love is realizing they left long before they told you. And in my case, they didn't just leave me. They replaced me. You can lie to yourself for a while. A good man can tell himself everything's okay, even when his gut screams the opposite. That's what I did. I told myself I was overthinking. That Lauren was just going through something. That Cody was still my best friend. But deep down, I was already broken. I just hadn't bled yet. The night it finally came out was a Wednesday. I'll never forget it. Cool air, leaves just starting to fall. I had just pulled a 12-hour shift at the shop and another 3 driving for Instacart. I was tired, bone tired. All I wanted was a hot shower and to feel like I belonged in my own home. I got neither. When I walked in, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Lauren wasn't downstairs. The lights in the living room were off, but the hallway light upstairs was on. I called out, "Lauren?" No answer. I climbed the steps, trying not to imagine the worst, but every step made my stomach sink lower. Our bedroom door was closed, but the writing room was cracked open. I could see shadows moving inside. I wish I'd never opened that door. Because the moment I pushed it open, I saw exactly what my gut had been trying to prepare me for. There they were, Lauren and Cody, wrapped up in each other like I'd never existed. Her robe hung loose around her shoulders. His shirt was off. They froze like 2 kids caught stealing from a candy jar, but this was no childish game. For a long second, none of us moved. Cody stood up like he was about to explain. Lauren didn't bother. She just looked at me, like I was interrupting. "Michael," he started, but I cut him off. "Don't. Just, don't." I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. My chest felt like someone dropped a cinder block on it. Lauren calmly pulled her robe closed. No apology. No shame. Just, calm. I backed out of the room and went downstairs. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But I didn't yell. I didn't flip a table or punch a wall. I just sat on the couch, staring at the dark TV. A few minutes later, she came down. Alone. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't even look guilty. Instead, she said, "You should have made more time for me." Those words, they cracked something inside me that hadn't broken yet. I work 16 hours a day for this house. For you. So you could chase your dream while I paid the bills, I said, barely recognizing my own voice. Lauren shrugged. You were gone all the time, Michael. What did you expect me to do? Sit here and wait like a pet? I wanted to scream, yes. That's what loyalty looks like. But the words never left my mouth. I asked her one question. How long? She didn't hesitate. About 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Of dinners at our table. Of birthdays and Christmas mornings. Of "I love you" while she looked me in the eye. It was all fake. Cody never came downstairs. I guess he knew better. He left the house later that night without saying a word to me. Lauren slept in the guest room. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I didn't call anyone. I just sat there at the kitchen table, numb, while she moved around the house like nothing had happened. She poured her coffee. Checked her phone. Laughed at something on Instagram. I couldn't believe it. That same day, she served me divorce papers. She didn't even wait a week. It was like she'd already planned it, like the affair was just the first phase. The part that still messes with me? She was cold. Not angry. Not sad. Just detached. Like I was the one who let her down. The papers hit me like a second slap. She wanted the house. She wanted spousal support, even though she hadn't worked in years. She wanted the dog, Rusty, the golden retriever we got on our 3rd anniversary. The one who used to wait by the door for me to come home. The only part of this broken life that still wagged its tail when I walked in. I was speechless. I asked her, "How can you take everything after what you did?" She didn't flinch. "I gave you the best years of my life. You gave me a cold bed and a ghost of a husband. If I'm taking something now, it's what I deserve." That was her logic. No remorse. No guilt. Just a woman who had already rewritten the story in her mind, one where she was the victim and I was the careless husband who drove her into another man's arms. And the worst part? She believed it. I spent the next few days in a fog. Friends called. My mom stopped by. I didn't answer the door. I didn't eat. I just sat on the floor of our bedroom, my bedroom, listening to the echo of everything we used to be. Eventually, I packed a bag and left. She stayed in the house. Cody was already showing up again by the end of the week. That night, when I drove away, Rusty stood by the window. She wouldn't let me take him. That was the final cut. The betrayal didn't just come from her. It came from him too. My best friend. The guy who stood next to me at my wedding. The guy I lent money to when he got laid off. The guy who once told me, "You and Lauren. Man, that's real." Turns out, he wanted real too. He just didn't care who it belonged to first. Some people think the worst part of betrayal is the moment it happens. It's not. It's the days that follow. The silence. The looks. The reality settling in like a slow-moving fire through everything you built. The day I moved out, I didn't have a plan. Just a duffel bag, a half-dead phone, and a feeling like the floor had been pulled out from under me. I stayed at a cheap motel on the east side of town, the kind with flickering lights and a broken vending machine. It didn't matter. It was better than being in that house, our house, with them. My mom found out 2 days later. I hadn't meant to tell her, but I needed to see someone who didn't look at me like I was the villain in my own life. She hugged me. Tight. Like moms do. Then she asked what happened. When I told her, her face went pale. She didn't say much. Just rubbed my back and whispered, "I'm sorry, baby." I never thought I'd be 38 years old, sitting on my mom's couch with a marriage falling apart and my best friend in my wife's bed. But there I was. The divorce process was a blur. Lauren moved fast, too fast. Like she had a lawyer lined up before I even found the guest room key. She was ruthless. That cold charm of hers became a weapon in court. She painted a picture of a lonely woman left behind by an absent husband. A man who chose work over his marriage. A man who was emotionally unavailable. They made it sound like I was just a paycheck with a beard. Her lawyer said the affair didn't matter, Indiana was a no-fault state. My lawyer, a quiet guy named Jeff, just shook his head after every court appearance. "She's going for the jugular," he told me one afternoon. "We'll fight it, but she's aiming to bleed you dry." And she did. She got the house. The furniture. The car we co-signed. Rusty. She even got spousal support, from me, because I made more. Can you believe that? I was the one living in a motel room while she played Happy New Beginnings with Cody in the home I broke my back to build. Anderson is a small town. Word travels fast. At first, people didn't know what to believe. Then Lauren started talking, subtly, cleverly, spinning her story like a silk web. She just wasn't happy, they whispered. Michael was never around. Poor thing. She tried, but he just worked too much. Even some mutual friends, people who'd eaten at our table, started siding with her. I guess people love a good story, especially when the villain is too tired to defend himself. The only one who never wavered was Paul. Paul was my coworker at the auto shop. Blue collar, no filter, bad jokes. But loyal as hell. When I told him everything, he just said, "Damn. Cody's a dead man walking if I ever see him." Then he bought me a beer and said nothing else. Sometimes that's all you need. Just someone who doesn't make it worse. A month after moving out, I hit my lowest point. I was still sleeping on a friend's couch, using a gym shower before work, and sending court-ordered payments to a woman who betrayed me like it was her full-time job. I started drinking more. Not hard stuff, just enough to blur the edges. One night I found myself scrolling through old pictures. Our wedding. Trips to Nashville. Her birthday party. The first day we brought Rusty home. I couldn't believe I ever thought we were happy. That night I broke down. Not a few tears, a full collapse. I screamed into a pillow. Punched a hole in the wall. Fell to my knees and just cried. For everything. For the time I lost. The years I'll never get back. The man I used to be before all this. And for the truth I couldn't ignore anymore. She never loved me the way I loved her. It wasn't some inspirational moment. I didn't wake up the next morning with a fresh new mindset or a six-pack of confidence. But I did wake up. And I went to work. And I didn't drink that night. And slowly, I started to claw my way back. I found a small apartment above a bait shop. Ugly as hell, but it had hot water and a bed that was mine. I picked up more hours at the shop and stopped delivering groceries at night. Instead, I started going for long walks, trying to clear the fog in my head. One day, Paul said something that stuck with me. "You've been through hell, man. But you walked through it. Most guys would have curled up and quit. Not you." I didn't feel strong. Not yet. But something in me shifted. For the first time in weeks, I started to believe I might actually make it out of this. Funny enough, I ran into Cody at the gas station about 2 months after the court finalized the divorce. He didn't see me at first. He was pumping gas into Lauren's SUV, wearing her sunglasses like some kind of clown. I stood behind him. "Hey," I said. He turned. Froze. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "How's it feel? Sleeping in a stolen bed?" His mouth opened, then closed. Nothing came out. I didn't wait. Just turned around and walked off. Didn't even look back. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't closure. But it was something. A reminder that I was still standing. And they were still who they were. They say time heals all wounds. I don't know if that's true. Some wounds don't heal. They just stop bleeding. But if you ask me now, months later, how I'm doing, I'll tell you this. I'm not who I was. And that's okay. After everything, the betrayal, the divorce, the loss, I didn't try to rebuild my old life. That life was gone. I built something new instead. Smaller. Quieter. But mine. I saved up and bought a used Ford pickup from a guy in Noblesville. Nothing fancy, but she runs smooth. The little apartment above the bait shop. I turned it into something livable. New coat of paint.
New coat of paint. A second-hand recliner. A cheap coffee maker. It's not a dream life. But it's my life now. Work at the auto shop picked up. I started taking weekend jobs again, but not because I had to, because I wanted to. I needed something to fill the time, to give me purpose. I started cooking again. Reading. Going to the park on Sunday mornings with a travel mug of coffee, watching people walk their dogs and laugh with their kids. It hurt at first, seeing what I lost. But then it started to remind me that joy still exists. That hope still breathes in small places. I never got him back. She kept him, even after everything. Sometimes I imagine him sitting at the door, waiting for me. Other times I hope she's treating him right, feeding him, walking him, scratching that little spot behind his ear that made his leg twitch. But I don't know. And I never will. That's part of the loss, too, the not knowing. The little pieces of your life that get carved out and handed to someone who never deserved them. I hear they're still together. For now. Paul saw them at the fair a couple weeks back. Said Lauren looked bored, and Cody looked like he was trying too hard. I'm not surprised. They got what they wanted, but they'll never have what they thought they were stealing. They'll never have loyalty, or real trust. Because deep down, they both know what they are. And that kind of guilt doesn't just disappear. It festers. I don't need revenge. I don't even need closure. I have peace now. That's something they can't fake or steal. People ask if I've forgiven her. I don't know. Some days I think I have. Other days I still taste the bitterness at the back of my throat. But here's what I've come to understand. Forgiveness isn't about letting her off the hook. It's about unhooking myself from the pain. I can't carry this forever. I don't want to. So I set it down. Bit by bit. Memory by memory. And I walk forward. Not because I'm strong, but because I've learned I have to. I don't recognize the man I was before all this happened. That man was tired. Numb. Willing to put everything on the line for people who wouldn't do the same. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see a man who knows what he's worth. I see someone who gave his all and was betrayed, but didn't let it define him. I see someone who lost everything but found himself. And you know what? That's something no one can take. Final thoughts. If you're going through something like this, if your heart is breaking, if someone you loved flipped your world upside down, let me tell you something I wish someone told me. You will survive. It'll hurt. It'll break you down. But you will get up. And when you do, you'll realize you're stronger than you ever thought possible. They may have taken the house, the money, the dog, even your peace. But they can't take your soul. They can't steal your integrity. And they sure as hell can't write your next chapter. That part's all yours now. So write it well. That's the end.